If the previous 18 seasons since the team came back into being in 1999 haven't given you enough indication, enough validation that the Cleveland Browns are the one true skid marks of the National Football League, then this whole mess of a situation that was the A.J. McCarron trade that ultimately didn't happen should just be further validation in your mind. And this is just, the whole thing is just reeking of Cleveland Browns incompetence, stupidity, and skid marks. Looking at it this way first, you drafted DeShone Kizer in the second round. You anointed him the starter from day one and said he was going to have a long leash, and you wanted to take a good, hard, long look at him, and you wanted to see if he could be the guy long-term for your organization, because ultimately, if he does end up being that guy, then the organization is that much better off, and if not, you know into 2018 that you need to go find that guy, because the number one flaw the Cleveland Browns have had throughout their previous 18 seasons of existence was they never truly had that franchise quarterback. Even with the draftings of the Tim Couches and the Brady Quinns and the Brandon Whedons and the Johnny Manziels, it's just never come to fruition. They can't find that guy. It is a perfect example of, if you have a quarterback, you have a chance. And if you don't have a quarterback and you have other things go poorly, you can end up like the Browns too. But you'll never be the skid marks quite like they are. They take DeShone Kizer in the second round, make him the starter, and say that he's going to be our guy. Only to, when he struggles at certain games, Hugh Jackson mangles the situation by benching him several times, to then benching him for a game so Kevin Hogan could play, so that way Kevin Hogan could go out and have a 3-interception game, so that way you have to bench him, and then you go back to DeShone Kizer. The worst thing you could do with a young quarterback is yo-yo him in and out of the lineup. Because if you talk about what's important for a young quarterback, it's confidence, having confidence, building confidence, and keeping confidence. Yo-yoing him in and out of the lineup makes him think too much and makes him fearful for his job, and it's not the point in time in a young man's career where you want him worried about his job at that position, because a quarterback without confidence is not a quarterback at all. So, of course, the Browns being the Browns, they have completely and totally mangled that situation. So you think that a good idea to try and solve your quarterback woes, now let me get this straight, is to go to a divisional rival and try to get not Andy Dalton, but his backup A.J. McCarron. He of exactly a few NFL starts through the 3 years of his career plus or so. You think A.J. McCarron is going to be that guy? If he had that type of ability, wouldn't the Bengals have already benched Andy Dalton for him? Furthermore, you're talking about a young guy in DeShone Kizer. If you're talking about your organization makes a trade for a guy like that at your position, then that is further shattering this young quarterback's confidence in himself and the chance that he's going to get. Because if this organization was going to give up what they were going to give up to trade for somebody, a backup somewhere else like A.J. McCarron from a losing team himself, then what does DeShone Kizer think about his chances in his future of ever being the long-term starter for the Cleveland Browns? This is just ridiculous. Now, with the deal not going down, it still shatters and rattles the young man, because the team was clearly saying they didn't believe in him, they didn't think he had a chance, and they thought somebody else's backup was better than him. Whether he was or wasn't is a discussion for a different video. The point is, you were supposed to give DeShone Kizer this long leash and let him play out throughout the course of the season, and you're not doing it. You're yo-yoing him in and out of the damn starting lineup, and then you're trying to trade for somebody else's backup. After last year not drafting Carson Wentz like the hell I told them they should, because some dipshit in that front office, or several of them, thought that Carson Wentz wasn't a top 20 quarterback in the NFL. And now Carson Wentz, of course, because it's Cleveland thinking that, is an MVP candidate and is quarterbacking a team with the best record in the league at 8-1 as we sit with the Philadelphia Eagles. And then this year in the draft, they had 2 chances with 2 picks in the top 12, including the number 1 overall pick and then pick 12, to draft a quarterback, and they passed on Deshaun Watson and traded out of the ability to get him. And look what Deshaun Watson did for Houston before he tore up his damn knee. Imagine how much the whole aura, inspector, and vibe around this organization would be different if they had either Carson Wentz or Deshaun Watson as their quarterback to build around. I'm just saying. And you could be cynical and say, well, the Browns would still screw that up anyways. But they haven't had that type of talent or that type of guy come in at the quarterback position So it's hard to know. Those are the type of guys that could be culture changers. Those are the type of guys that could be organization changers. That's what makes them potentially franchise quarterbacks. And the Cleveland Browns have never had one since they came back into the league in 1999. But they think A.J. McCarron is going to be that freaking guy? A.J. freaking McCarron. A.J. McCarron. The same guy right now who has a grievance against the Bengals because he's pissed off at them about the way they statused him in one of his early seasons with non-football related stuff that would make him now a restricted free agent at the end of 2017 instead of unrestricted free agent. So you're talking about in the middle of a season trading for a team's backup quarterback that isn't even under contract long term, that you're thinking about potentially having to give a shit ton of money to for very little established performance or production. All the while talking about giving up, because it was a divisional rival, knowing that that increases the price. You were talking about giving up a second and third round pick, whereas the 49ers gave up a second round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo, who to me is a better talent. The Browns, of course, were going to give up more picks for a lesser talent in A.J. McCarron. A second and third round pick for somebody else's backup. This is unbelievable. Like, the whole thing talking about bungles, and we used to talk about the Bengals for so many years being the bungles. Now, again, with being the skid marks of the league, the Browns have taken over that mantle. Who in the hell in that organization looks at their analytics when they've been 1-23 the past season and a half and says, A.J. McCarron is our fucking future? Whatever analytical measurements, algorithms, equations you are using, ding-dong dumb-dicks, they all suck. And every single person involved in that Browns front office should be fired for even thinking about consummating a deal like this. You're going to give up 2 premium picks for somebody else's backup quarterback 4 years into the league, knowing that if you're going to keep him long-term, that's probably going to require you to pay him $15 to $20 million a year, if not more, when he hasn't established he can do shit. So you're negatively impacting your salary cap without any proven production, taking somebody else's, for all intents and purposes, based off of experience. A.J. McCarron, in terms of live game action, is still a rookie NFL quarterback, instead of maybe drafting another guy in 2018 and getting a much younger, much cheaper version of a rookie quarterback. All the while where you already have a rookie quarterback who has some talent, has some potential, that you're just basically throwing to the woods. Because, yeah, he hasn't played great, and he hasn't been very successful, and he's been a mess at times. But honestly, in this situation in Cleveland, who the hell is going to succeed that much better if it wasn't a true star, big-name quarterback any damn ways? How many other quarterbacks have come into Cleveland right now and make this a viable, competitive, winning team? I mean, really. This team is still so bad and such a mess that Bill Belichick couldn't get them to 500. Period. The greatest coach of all time couldn't make this team the way it's constructed right now a winner. Are you fucking kidding me? And then the crazy thing about this all is that ultimately there was an agreement in place to get A.J. McCarron from the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Browns would send a second and third round pick. And of course, the Cincinnati Bengals, knowing that this was a hell of a deal, they were in a rush to get that paperwork off at the 11th hour at the last minute because they wanted this deal to go down as they should have. And if it did go down, they should have been praised for it. But the Browns failed on their end to send an email or any type of notification to the league office saying that, hey, we're seeking approval of this deal, even knowing that they didn't have to send in all the paperwork. That could have been sent in later. They just needed to notify the league on their end that they were agreeing to this deal and they were seeking leave approval, and it would have been done. But of course, Cincinnati gets their side done, and the Cleveland Browns don't. So not only are they idiots for thinking that this A.J. McCarron deal was a good deal, not only are they idiots for thinking about giving up a second and third round pick to get a guy that's about to be a free agent, not only are they idiots for the way they've handled the whole DeShone Kizer starting quarterback situation, they couldn't even get the paperwork to the league in time to get the league to sign off on the deal and make it happen. If that doesn't scream skid marks, I don't know what does. But the craziest thing of all in the grand scheme of things for the skid marks is the best thing that could have happened was this damn deal didn't happen. That's how you know you suck. That's how you know you're a mess. Was when you're better off because the moves you intended to make didn't happen. Now the Browns get to keep their second and third round pick. Now the Browns don't have to worry about giving A.J. McCarron a ton of money for very little proven production. Now they can go the rest of the season with Deshaun Kaiser as their starter, and they can find out what he's got. Now they keep all that draft pick ammunition, so if they do find a guy in this 2018 draft, who they ultimately will probably get wrong any damn ways, they can move up and they can get creative if they need to, because they got a shit ton of draft pick currency to make moves in the draft any damn ways. How crazy is that? The only reason this deal is a win for the Cleveland Browns is because it didn't happen. Good organizations make good moves that improve them. In this case, the Cleveland Browns treaded water and didn't regress, which I feel like they would have if they would have traded for A.J. McCarron. They got better, in a sense, because the deal didn't happen. If that doesn't speak to Sashi Brown and Paul DePodesta needing to be shown the fucking door because they are idiots, they are incompetent, they are poor leaders, and most importantly of all, their analytics and everything else they do revolving around football absolutely suck, then I don't know what does. Only the Browns could sit there and consummate and think about an idea of doing a stupid deal like this within the division for somebody else's backup quarterback, give them way too damn much, and then ultimately screw the pooch and not get the deal done because they didn't email the league and let them know. Once this skid marks, always the freaking skid marks, and they're going to continue to be the freaking skid marks.